All right, welcome to the show. This is episode 2. We're down a man tonight. Scott couldn't hop on with us tonight, but it is me and the 3 ladies, Kayla, and Lena, and I'm Eli. And I can't believe it's been a week. We're already on to episode 2. It's crazy.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And working a lot.
Yeah, busy.
Yeah, getting the podcast on all the channels they need to go on. So cool. So I guess I think we're going to start with I don't know if we're going to have a fancy name for it or just new stuff or new and newsworthy or just, I don't know. I think we're going to kind of get into where we kind of give you a hint of some new stuff coming up, whether it's in the theaters or, Netflix or Shudder or just whatever. So I think we're going to kind of talk about some of the new stuff coming out, either recently or coming up soon. So what are we doing first? What's the first one?
Gerald's Game.
Gerald's Game, yes. Who wants to?
Oh, which I just watched today, so this is so fresh. This is so fresh. Wait, no, I watched it last night. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Still, I'm just like raw from that movie.
Okay, so tell us, what platform it's on, if you know the director, or anything like that some people may not be aware of.
I mean, it just came out on Netflix the past couple of days, right?
I can't remember when it debuted. Yeah, Friday maybe.
I think maybe Friday. Yeah.
I honestly didn't know much about what it was, and I knew that it was a Stephen King adaptation, but I know nothing about this story. And the original book, I think, was in 1992.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I read a lot of things that they had such a hard time adapting it because the narration is really weird in the book. Like I said, I don't know anything about this series, so I was really interested to see, and I think that me and Eli spent a long time last night with me freaking out watching this.
Well, and it's crazy, too, because with Stephen King, I mean, he puts out a new book a week, it seems like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so when, I'm kind of like you, when people are like, oh, another Stephen King, Gerald's going to like, what? So I thought it was like something like recent because I'd never heard of it. So yeah, when I found out it was 25 years old, I was like shocked.
What really interested me was the guy that directed it. Mike Flanagan did Oculus, and I loved Oculus.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did too. He did a Hush as well, which I
he did Ouija, the Origin movie, The Origin of Evil,
which was good.
Yeah,
was that the first one or the second one?
Second, I think that's the second one.
Gotcha.
But it really, oh man, that movie.
Yes, movie. Gerald's Game, the book. I was not allowed to read that one in my younger days. My mom had that one, yes.
It's a very uncomfortable subject for a lot of people, and I don't know how the comparison with the Netflix film versus the book. I've only read that they were incredibly true to it, which is really interesting, but it's just, man, I can't imagine being in the throes of death and seeing the things that these people probably see when they start to hallucinate.
Yeah, it's pretty deep.
Like what all was she hallucinating?
Yeah, and it's kind of first off, Henry Thomas, who was Elliot in E.T., he played the creepy dad. He was
I didn't know that.
Yeah. No one really. Well, I don't think they advertised it that way. But
crazy.
But yeah, of course, everyone was talking about that scene, and it was pretty rough. I wasn't. I try to stay away from spoilers, and so people said, "Get ready, it's kind of rough." Like, okay, that's fine. No, it was rough. It was really, really. Yeah.
And my original apprehension was there was heavy foreshadowing with the dog, and I knew that something was going to happen with the dog, and that's a thing that I really struggle with watching is anything having to do with dogs and being violent. I have such a soft spot for all 3 of mine to watch a dog. can't do it. So I was really nervous about watching it in general. And then when I started and kind of got past that part, that wasn't even the worst part.
Yeah.
Right.
Just in for it, right?
Oh man.
Well, when you have dogs, you have to check. I think it's called doesthedogdie.com. I need to get on that. Yeah. That would probably make me. And it's pretty good. Like they'll say, well, it doesn't die, but it does get hurt or something like that. So it's still like, okay, that's a pass, But it was. I mean, it's kind of, obviously dealing with it. It's almost on the other side of the spectrum compared to it. We talked about that last week. But I think I was telling KB last night. I mean, I've seen people rate Gerald's Game higher than it. They were that impressed with it. And I think it's a combination of, how long it took to adapt it and the fact that Netflix took a roll of the dice and put it out themselves, So I don't know if I would rate it higher than it personally, but I mean, the leads were phenomenal. It was kind of a, pretty much a one location set. I mean, it's just a bedroom basically. So, I mean, it's definitely
pretty impressive.
Definitely. I also think that it's a little bit difficult to compare a movie like Gerald's Game with it.
Mm-hmm.
Solely because it's two different types of horror, and a lot of people don't see it that way, but, you've got supernatural horror versus psychological horror, because essentially the majority of what happened in that movie was real.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure, her mind made it up, but it was also based on things that had happened and things that she knew her husband would say to her, and it was all fairly factual. There was nothing supernatural about it, even though you kind of almost thought that it would be there for a second. But everything is just fabricated from her mind in some aspects, but there's nothing supernatural about it. So I just don't think that you can really compare the two properly with those kinds of factors. Right. But only nerds say that.
Yeah. Well, I think it just goes back to, how masterful Stephen King is. I mean, he'll do something like it, and then he'll have like just a straight up monster, book like Cujo, which is, about the dog. And then Gerald's Game is psychological. And then, he'll do it's called The Body, but it's, what Stand By Me's. I mean, he can tap into like pretty much any kind of horror,
Right.
So it's just, I'm glad I was alive in the time of Stephen King.
Right.
Heck yeah.
And I think Flanagan does a really good job in general with horror that has to do with madness or going crazy or losing control. I think he's really good at that. He's good at that in Oculus, and he's really good here. So I'm glad that he was chosen to direct it. I feel like a lot of directors would have screwed it up big time. Yeah. It's a really easy, very delicate movie. Difficult, I'm sure. So I'm glad that he got the reins of it, because he's really trustworthy with handling that sort of horror.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wrote down a quote that he said in an article I wanted to read that I thought was interesting, without spoiling anything. But he said, "The biggest thing I wanted to communicate is that everything we need is already within us, but in order to access it, we might have to battle monsters, and the scariest ones are the ones that are within."
Yeah.
Ooh,
so I think that kind of sums up the movie without giving anything away.
Definitely.
Well, I think it's
just
like,
kind of touches on the surface.
We kind of talked about his other movies, but a lot of people are saying like this is his Arrival because he was able to tackle what a lot of people said was unfilmable and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if in the next couple of years he's doing the new Nightmare on Elm Street or something, Friday the 13th, they put him in charge of a big movie like that, so.
We can only hope.
Yeah, they need some help over there in those properties for sure. But yeah, so the other thing I was going to mention, The Cult of Chucky is actually out on Netflix. I think it came out yesterday. And I don't know if y'all have kept up with it much, but the movie leaked like 2 weeks ago. And, it was all over the torrent sites and all this kind of stuff. And, I mean, I didn't get it because, like, I heard the announcement it was going... Like, not only is it going to be on Netflix, which it already is, but I think it's going to be in the AMC Fear Fest. I think
Yeah, it's going to be about halfway through the week, and it's already on Netflix.
Yeah. So
I started it. I didn't get all the way through it, but I did start it, and it's really interesting.
Yeah, I just
I do love Chucky.
So it was kind of weird that, you know, all these people, because I mean, like, that's 2 free choices that you can just wait a month, and you know, so it definitely kind of had some, you know, controversy leading up to it, you know, coming out and stuff. But it's following, you know, of course, the Curse of Chucky, and I never saw Curse of Chucky. I went back today and I was watching it on my lunch break, and I guess I'd kind of got burnt out with the you know, Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky and all that kind of stuff, which is kind of, you know, I guess maybe they're trying to throw back to like Bride of Frankenstein and stuff, but like, yeah, I don't know, it just got a little much.
It's silly.
Even though, is it Jennifer Tilly? Is she the one that does?
She
did like one of my tweets on Twitter about the Chucky stuff, so that was cool.
Nice.
But yeah, so I guess we won't talk much about that since no one's seen it yet. But anyways, that's that's a big franchise. Next year's the 30th anniversary of Child's Play, and so that's a big one. The only other one that I just mentioned to you guys, Ghost or Ghosted. I don't know how they're pronouncing it. On Fox, it's kind of more supernatural, sci-fi kind of a deal. But Craig Robinson and Adam Scott. So it wasn't bad. It was pleasant, I guess. But, you know, to be on a major network like that and be a little, you know, outside the normal, that was, you know, it wasn't bad. The special effects were pretty good. So,
cool.
I think that's it. I think.
Well, if we want to talk about new releases, we can throw in that The Babysitter, because that's coming out on the 13th. So that's really, really close.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything about that, but until, I don't know, maybe 20, 30, 45 minutes ago.
That trailer is out of control.
Oh, yeah. It looks so much fun.
So fun. Oh, I can't wait.
Is it a TV show or a movie?
It's a Netflix movie.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Netflix movie.
Awesome.
It looks really, it's of course going to be very campy. It really reminded me of Cabin in the Woods. Like it looks like a setup like Cabin in the Woods, and you know, we all love that movie. So I think it'll be really, really interesting to watch.
Awesome.
And not to jump, you know, straight to next week, because, you know, it'll be next week when it comes out. But Happy Death Day comes out next Friday.
Oh, yes.
I'm
definitely want to see
excited about that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That one kind of slipped under the radar. I'd seen stills about it, you know, just pictures from the movie, but I don't know. I thought it was an old movie. Like, it never really registered, and then finally I saw like a poster with a release tag. Oh, that's okay. That's coming up. Cool. So
I like that they made the mask of the killer look kind of like old and kind of shitty like that, though.
Yeah.
Because it looks like a bad movie. It looks like a B movie, but I don't think it's going to be a B movie.
Right. They showed the trailer when I saw it, and everyone was like cracking up laughing, and I wasn't really quite sure like what was so funny about it, but I don't know, it threw me off a little bit. So I'm looking forward to seeing the movie and seeing what it actually is and what it actually is like. Because the trailer was just so odd. I just feel really intrigued by it.
Yes, Groundhog Day, but horror version.
Right.
I dig it.
Yeah, I think it's got potential. That's you know, and you know, usually the ones that take a chance and do weird stuff, usually, you know, well, not usually, sometimes are the ones that are, you know, the big hits and stuff. So
yes.
So I guess that's our brief synopsis of the new stuff in the horror realm, I guess. So I think now we're gonna kind of mention our social stuff. Did you want to do that, Kayla? Like all of our handles and the number and stuff?
Which Kayla are you talking to?
I was like, which
Oh, sorry. I thought we established KB was KB and Kayla was Kayla.
That's her fault then.
Okay.
Because she went silent, and I was like, oh, wait, maybe he's talking to me. Yeah. I never agreed to this.
My bad. Sure. You can really find us anywhere at Music City Horror. So we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, Facebook, just rocking your feed everywhere. So be sure to look us up on there at Music City Horror. Are we going to do personal handles too, or just that one's going to be good?
I'm okay with just that one. I mean, if they find that, they can find us. Just because. Sure.
Right. I feel like that might take a little. Do we need to waste some time?
Yeah. Plus, we need followers on those handles. So.
Oh God.
Do you want to mention the phone number?
Let's see. I don't think I have it written down, actually.
Oh. I've got it. It. Don't worry. The other Kayla is prepared.
Damn.
The phone number is 615-538-7474, and that is voicemail only. And I'll say it like I said it last week. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't fucking say it.
Mm-hmm. So all of the social media, basically that's your place to comment, interact. If you want to leave us a voicemail, give us show suggestions. You can critique us again. Try to be nice. We know we're not pros. We're just doing this because we like it. All that kind of stuff. We're gonna eventually, incorporate that stuff into our show. If the audio comes out good enough, we actually might put the voicemail in the show, and you might actually hear your voice. I don't know how that's going to work, but we'll see. But yeah, 615-538-7474, and again, leave a voicemail, and yeah, let us know. We had a suggestion. I don't have the gentleman's name. I apologize, but he popped up on Twitter and said, hey, your movie list is awesome, but the pictures are too small. Like, okay. So we fixed that, and I sent it to him. He was like, oh, cool, man. So, we do listen. So just don't be shy. Come say hey. Leave comments, all that good stuff.
What's next, guys?
So I think the main topic of the show, I think Lena suggested this, we are going to talk about Halloween traditions. Now, my question is are we going to talk about, stuff we did as a kid or current or both?
I definitely think both.
Okay. Because I really don't have any current ones per se. So,
we're all grown and we work a lot, but I always try to at least think of a costume, even if I don't actually go through with it. Yeah. I'm like, well, if I'm going to do anything for Halloween, this is what I'll be. And that doesn't always work out very well. But, yeah, we can do both. I think it would be fun to compare our childhood traditions versus how we experience Halloween now that we're grown-ups.
Cool. Who wants to go first?
Not me.
I can go first.
Cool.
As a child, I'm happy my parents always helped me make costumes and take us trick-or-treating and all that. We didn't really have many traditions. My mom, she was an art teacher for a long time, so she always made our costumes, which was awesome. And not many people get to go out, trick-or-treating when they're younger. So I'm thankful for that. But now I do have a tradition that I've done for the past 3 years, which is do a beer and candy pairing for my friends. Mm. And they think that's a lot of fun. They're always like, wow, this is very cool. So I just have a group of friends over and I have 5 beers that I pair with 5 different traditional candies. Last year I did a sour beer with Pop Rocks. That was fun, which I watched Urban Legends last night. I don't know if y'all saw my Instagram, but still good. And a double IPA with Skittles. So I do that every year, and that'll be coming up later this month. And you're all invited.
Cool.
Yes.
Our Halloween party, we have to have a Halloween party.
Yes, sure. We do need to.
Well, I'm invited to one on the 27th, and I don't think it would be a problem if any and all of you guys wanted to go. I mean the co-host, obviously, not the general public.
Sorry.
Yes, right.
I was about to say those moments that we forget that we're doing a podcast and we're not on a group phone call making plans for the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Like giving out the address and stuff. Meet us here. Other than that, I mean, I'm just watching all the horror films that I can when I can.
I mean, I should have went first because that's probably going to be the coolest tradition out of all of us, you know?
Oh, no.
So,
no. If I think of anything else, I will. But, I try to keep my eyes and ears open to what's going on around town. So I haven't really heard anything yet, but I'm open for anything.
I think that's something that we should talk about, right? Like when we find out what's going on in Nashville, we should probably be talking about it so our listeners can participate. So,
sure.
I will say I heard something today. Jackalope Brewing, which is down in downtown Nashville, they're doing a least sexy Halloween party. So if you show up with the least sexiest costume, you win a prize.
Nice.
So that was cute.
My husband and I are going to be Bob and Linda Belcher, so maybe that would be really good for that content.
That's awesome.
Also, that's if you call the number, that's a good thing too. Like if anybody listening knows anything that we should know about, that would be a perfect reason to call the phone number.
Let us know.
For sure.
Okay, I'm going to go last since I'm the only dude tonight. So whichever Kayla wants to go next.
Sure. I'll go next. I'm just Kayla, by the way. Not KB, but Kayla. I grew up doing a lot of trick-or-treating. We also grew up in church, and so we did a lot of trunk-or-treating.
Of course.
If any of y'all Southerners are familiar with trunk-or-treating at the church.
I mean, I still get invites to my church's trunk or treat. So.
They're so cute, right?
Yeah.
And we always dressed up, my whole family. And I think my best Halloween costume was when I was a teenager. I think I was maybe 15 or 16, and I was Carrie. And I got an old prom dress, this long blonde wig, and my parents made this fake blood. And I stood out in the driveway, and they just dumped fake blood all over me. And then I rode off into the sunset to go trick-or-treating and shenanigans with my friends, and my parents were like,
amazing.
Our driveway is covered in fake blood. Great. Like, this looks awesome. It was there for, I think, way too long. I think it was really hard to get off the pavement. But I think that was my favorite Halloween costume growing up, and it was a lot of fun. I was also Stevie Nicks one year. And none of the kids at school got it, but all the teachers did. So that was a fun one, too. They were all like, oh, my gosh, you're Stevie Nicks, of course. And then now, we're still kind of working on traditions, trying to figure out, like, what's good in town. And, of course, there's so much to do here. We like to go to the Tailgate Brewery. They show Halloween movies, I think, on Fridays and maybe Fridays and Saturdays, or just Fridays. I can't remember. But they always show fun ones. Like we saw Hocus Pocus last year there, and it was a lot of fun.
Very nice.
There's also a lot of concerts too. Last year we went to go see Here Come the Mummies. And
when you said something about
awesome.
them, I have a Here Come the Mummies shirt. Like I love them. They are so good.
They're great.
Awesome. And they're playing again this year, I think on the 28th.
What exactly is Here Come the Mummies? Because I'm not in Nashville, I'm kind of new.
Yeah.
Right. So they're kind of a funk band, I would say, just kind of straight up. And they dress up in mummy costumes, and they're really funny and outrageous, and also amazingly talented. Yeah. They are just really good musicians.
That sounds magical.
A lot of fun.
It's
a blast.
It's like a Disney acid dream. I mean, it's really good.
I need to attend them.
From Hocus Pocus, but better, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're just more fun and raunchy. So they're a lot of
good comparison.
Cool.
I need to check that out for sure.
Yeah, they're fun.
Cool. So I think it's KB's turn.
Oh, it's me next. Why didn't I have the childhood where I get blood poured all over me by my parents? That's how I wanted to grow up. That's how I wanted to grow up. I'm kidding. Love you, Mom. Love you, Dad. They may listen to this. Sorry, I cuss a lot. I kind of was really wishy-washy when I was a kid. I grew up kind of scared of horror movies at first, which I kind of talked about last week, but I loved Halloween. Halloween was still, my favorite holiday, and it's been my favorite holiday my entire life. It's just there's some things that come hand in hand with Halloween that I'm just a wuss about. But it's funny how much I still love, horror movie and Halloween. I just still have my fears. But as a kid, I went back and forth. We always went trick-or-treating in our neighborhood. We lived in a really, kind of small subdivision, and then that's when it was still safe to go trick-or-treating door to door. I don't feel like anybody does that anymore. I mean, they might, but over the past 10 years, I've not had a trick-or-treater at my door once, no matter where I lived.
Buy candy every year and eat it all by myself.
Right, because no one actually comes to get us. So, I mean, we walked around with flashlights. One year, I fought my mother to be Batman. I wanted to be Batman. I wanted to be a ninja. But then, a couple of years later, I was a Spice Girl. So,
Which
I always
Spice
had...
Girl?
I was Posh Spice.
I was too.
I
was Baby Spice one year.
See, I have always been the dark-haired one, so I always got put straight into Posh Spice, which was fine because she is my favorite Spice Girl. But I mean, I had a very normal Halloween tradition. We always carved pumpkins. We always went trick-or-treating. We always, handed out candy even when we got home and people were still out after us. And I always had a pleasant Halloween.
Here's an interjection. Did your guys as parents check your candy?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think so. I don't really remember.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't remember.
They kind of ate it, but I feel like I grew up in such a small town that I feel like they weren't too scared.
Right, me too.
Jackson was small-ish. I mean, it's a lot bigger than it was when I was growing up, probably Lena too. But I mean, we still got the Memphis News, and so my parents, they always checked it for razor blades and poison. And my always question is well, how do you? How are you checking it? Are you biting into it?
Are you eating
onto the blade for me? I don't know. So they did. They went through that whole thing. So, anyways, go ahead.
I don't really do anything now. I mean, like I said earlier, it's kind of sad. As much as I love Halloween, I don't really do much anymore. I'll try to make plans to go to a party, and I'll decide what I wanted to, want to be for Halloween. I think I have a costume this year just in case. Do you guys have costumes?
I have two on standby.
Okay. Well, originally this year, and we can get into this topic of what everybody's being for Halloween. I feel like that this is a good pre-planning stage for us. I originally wanted to be Butt Loose Tina.
That's amazing.
I wanted to be Butt Loose Tina, and then I realized I really don't want to wear a leotard. So right now, and I'm a cosplayer, so I feel like I always have a Halloween costume, but I never want to use my cosplays for my Halloween costume. I feel like that's cheating.
Yeah.
Sure.
So now, and I can do it vice versa, so I can use my Halloween costume as a cosplay because that's essentially what I'm doing now. I ordered myself a Lucille, and if you are familiar with Walking Dead, you know who Lucille is. And I got the Take It Like a Champ edition, so I'm assuming that everybody watches The Walking Dead and has watched the newest season by now, and if you haven't, you're really, really behind because the new one's about to start in a couple of weeks. Somebody gets their head bashed in, and the bat I got is gorgeous. I mean, chunks of brain, blood everywhere. I haven't taken her out of the box yet, but Negan is such an easy costume. All you have to do is get a leather jacket, torn up jeans, a red scarf, and order a Lucille on Amazon for $30.
That's awesome. Yes.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
So I've got to find a place to go.
Yeah, me and KB talked about that. I went to the Walker Stalker convention in Nashville, and I think it was June or July or something. And honestly, the ladies that were dressed up like Negan looked more badass than the guys. Like, I wanted to stop and take pictures with them.
To Walker Stalker next round.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, I mean, and it was. I mean, like Negan was there, Daryl, Glenn. I mean, like all the like except for Rick, like all the heavy hitters were there. Like I was surprised. Right. I didn't really think everybody was going to be there. That was going to be there. So
if it gets me standing within 5 feet of Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I will do it.
Well, yes. I was about 10 feet away from him, so
right.
We could have done air high fives.
Man. What a man. Anyways, let's not get off topic.
Yeah. Well, so I guess one tradition we're doing, we are starting this horror podcast. That's one tradition we've all started.
Absolutely.
So. Yes.
Yeah.
True.
Absolutely.
Cool. Did you have something else? I think I cut you off.
Oh no, I'm good.
Okay.
That was it. I told you guys I'm really boring. But hopefully I can find something to do.
No. Well, I'm kind of like y'all too. I'm kind of boring. I mean, growing up, we did the, costumes and trick or treating, and my parents knew that I was really into monsters and horror movies and stuff. So, they kind of let me watch some of the stuff. Probably earlier than I should. And I just remember, I think I mentioned it last week, like, one year I was Dracula, 1 year I was Wolfman, 1 year I was like Phantom of the Opera, 1 year I was Freddy. Like, I was just always movie monsters. Like, that was just, my thing. And then, you get older and, like one of y'all said, you want to dress up and do parties and stuff, but it doesn't always happen. So that's the last party I went to, I think, was in 2011, and I was Cobra Commander, and it was pretty awesome. I mean, it had the solid silver faceplate, and I mean, it was pretty badass. But I have 2 or 3 ideas for this year, and it's just a matter of like figuring out, because I have 2 parties I'm invited to, so it's just a matter of picking those. But
so popular.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because the one on the 28th is like a yearly thing. Like that was the last party I went to in 2011. And one of the guys that's invited to that one is having one the night before, and the people from the 28th are invited to the one the night before. So it's just like they're doing them back to back. It's just
That's smart.
Yeah. I mean, why not?
That
just knock it out.
Smart.
This is but like a couple years ago, me and the missus, we went to Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando. I think we did that in 2013. And it was awesome. It was just.
Did we go to the same one? Didn't we?
I think we did. Yeah. I think we did.
Cabin in the Woods.
Cabin in the Woods and Evil Dead.
Werewolf in London.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I was really bummed with the Werewolf of London one. I wanted it to be a little bit more.
It was okay.
But that was fun.
Yeah.
And then this Halloween, which is not. I think this is going to be a fluke. I don't think it's going to be a tradition, but I'm supposed to go to Los Angeles and see John Carpenter live in concert.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome!
So
lucky.
I think you win.
My friend Kevin will be so jealous.
Yeah. Well, it's just the logistics. I have the tickets, so that's the big thing. But then getting the plane ticket and finding a hotel and all that.
You better get to work, son.
Yeah. No. But yeah, I think we all like even when you kind of get a little bit older, like a teenager, still horror movies are still the common thread. I would stay home and Monster Vision on TNT with Billy Bob, and even some of the stuff on USA Up All Night. Just all the some of the really bad B stuff, and then even. I remember Billy Bob, I think he did the Friday the 13th and rated them, like with the kills and, his rating system he did. So, it's kind of tied into this. And then, like, we have on the website right now, we have our movie list, and we're kind of writing little reviews about it, about what we like about them and stuff like that. So it's kind of, even though we don't get to dress up and do the traditional thing, it's kind of I think the movies have always kind of stayed a part of it. And now that we're all old and have broken
Absolutely.
hips,
right. Horror movies are a year-round thing for us, but even still, I feel like we amp it up even more when October rolls around.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, and you have a lot of the closet people coming out too, like, oh, Halloween's my favorite. It's like, oh, I haven't heard you mention horror all year. I haven't,
right.
As soon as it's October 1st, it's your favorite holiday, so, and like when I was in high school, like it was legit my favorite holiday. And like my friends would get beat up and, made fun of because like, what about Christmas? I don't get to dress up at Christmas, like, I have to go see my family at Christmas. Halloween, I get to hang out with my friends, so, so anyways, not picking on anybody, just saying.
Just saying, I was cool before it was cool.
I was cool before it was cool. You know me.
Yes.
Well, cool. So I think, the other thing we've talked about doing, we kind of wanted to get our feet going last week and work out some of the kinks, but we're going to start shouting out some other podcasts, just because, if I hadn't listened to podcasts and got into this, I don't think I would have had the guts to like, I can do that, you know what I mean? And then, when I started talking to KB and she's like, well, my friend Kayla's really likes podcasts and she's all into this. And then I know Lena had, listened to some of those as well. So, our big thing is like, it's kind of like, some of the best horror, maybe directors or act like they like this, they're all Carpenter friends. They're all, Hooper fans, they all like that stuff. And it's kind of how we are. Like we listen to them, I probably listen to podcasts more than I listen to music now, just on the way to work and, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to, it's kind of one of those, like, not really competition for us. Like we want everyone to be included because we like listening to these people and, we like to spread the word and just, whatever you want to call it, positivity, I guess. So I think Lena's doing the first shout outs this week, as far as the podcasts go.
Yes. So my first shout out is to Breakers Podcast, which is a post-apocalyptic story, kind of like the Serial podcast was. And this is about a guy named Shepard Gray and his dog Rommel, who are living in a post-apocalyptic world that's ravaged by a virus called KV571. So it's a very binge-worthy series that I really enjoy. Think about like Walking Dead meets 28 Days Later. So less zombies, more like sick people, but still lots of twists and turns in it. They're on their second season, so there's still a lot to listen to. But one of my buddies, Sammy, started writing this story 8 years ago, and met his co-host Sam in another podcast forum online. They met and started talking about the story, and then this podcast was born, and they have lots of listeners. They've got listeners in Iceland, which is very interesting. But yeah, Breakers Podcast. I recommend it.
Nice.
Yes. That's all I have.
Oh, I thought you were doing two. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Well, did anybody else want to shout one out? I thought we were doing two, so I'm sorry.
Oh, I can do another one.
Oh, do it. Yeah. It's funny. I wrote the script, and then I don't know what we're doing.
Sorry.
All, so.
Another one I love is Scary Movie Ice Cream Night, which I've talked about.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. Yes. But that is two best friends, Mike Anderson and Cole Roberts. So Cole is a Nashville native here, super cool dude. But they talk about a lot of horror movies and television shows. Like their recent podcast is about their favorite Halloween specials. And Mike mentioned one, Rugrats. I don't know if y'all remember the Reptar Bars episode.
Wow.
Yeah. Throwback, yes.
That's incredible.
Which is awesome. Yeah, so I love their podcast because they have a lot of the same interests and help remind me of shows like that I can go back and watch. Boy Meets World, the Halloween episode, or Family Matters with Steve-O.
Dude, I watched Steve-O last night. I watched that.
Okay, I loved it.
Dude, the thing that's funny about that is that, well, first off, I mean, by the time it was, that was towards I think that was either the last season or the second to last. So, like, Urkel's like 30, and they're still making him talk like that, and I was like, bro, like, he's old, man. Just let him do it. But Steve-O switches between the puppet and then I don't know if he's a little person or a baby in a mask. And, like, you can tell when they switch, it's like, well, that's clearly the puppet. And then, well, that's clearly the person in the mask.
Right.
And they don't look the same at all. Like, not even. Yeah. But just to pull that off on, like, a TV show was just awesome. It's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of like the charm of it. And like I have said on my Instagram before, I wish they'd bring TGIF back. But maybe one day.
Well, I didn't know if you know, they actually released them on Hulu.
And that's been within the past couple of days.
Yeah, that just happened. Actually, I think it happened Friday, coincidentally. But Perfect Strangers, Step by Step, the original Full House, Family Matters.
That's awesome.
I thought they had Sabrina, but I don't.
They do. I got really excited when I saw that one.
Yes.
But then they had some random, like, Major Dad. I was like, well, that's not TGIF. That's just like 80s or 90s TV show,
Posers.
Yeah. But yeah, I kind of wish we had time. And I mean, if y'all want to, I mean, we can try to do it since we don't have next week's episode mapped out. But I would love to dive into, like, TV Halloween specials. Just because at one time it was like an art form, you know what I mean? I mean, just at one time you had like Roseanne and Home Improvement and Simpsons Treehouse of Terror all on like at the exact same time, and Family Matters, of course. I mean, they all were doing these just super awesome Halloween shows. But I kind of went back and watched all the Roseanne ones. And then I watched a couple of the Home Improvements, and man, they both just knocked it out of the park. They were really good.
I gotta admit, the Roseanne episodes when I was a kid actually scared me.
Some of them, yeah.
I need to go through and watch them as an adult and see if they spook me as bad as they did.
I don't know if y'all saw the post, but I posted on the website about the Queen of Halloween. It was Darlene, and her costumes were incredible. She had that like demon coming out of her chest, and then she was I just went blank. The girl from the Birds. She had all the birds like attacking her,
right?
And I was just like, dude, this is so good. But yeah, that's awesome. Those are some. I thought those were the two that you were going to shout out. So that's awesome. So.
Yes.
And we'll probably put once we get this posted, we'll probably put their Twitter name or their Instagram name in the notes in the post. So if y'all want to check out those other podcasts, we can spread the word and all that good stuff. So
spread the love.
Spread the love. So I think so that's about it. We've almost gone 45 minutes. So I was afraid this was going to be short, and it went long again. So that's good. So I think Kayla said it. We are on iTunes, so if you just search Music City Horror, we are there. We're on Stitcher. We got submitted for Google Play, so hopefully that's approved by the end of the week. And then I don't know if anybody's still on TuneIn, but we're going to be on TuneIn as well. And I think we're going to try to maybe put the episodes on YouTube. So that way, if you're still somebody that goes to YouTube and finds music and stuff like that, you can listen to our episodes there too. So the big thing going forward for us is, I mean, if you subscribe to the podcast on any of those channels, that definitely helps us out. And then, if you want to leave a comment on like on the iTunes forum or Stitcher's forum or anything like that, any of that stuff kind of helps us go up the rankings. So that would help us out too. So we've had people kind of ask like, that's awesome. What can I do? Like, sharing what we share and you posting the stuff on your pages and just, helping us get the word out. That's going to be the biggest thing, for at least the first little few months and stuff like that. So, so keep that in mind. And Again, the phone number is 615-538-7474. So that is live now. So if you want to call that and leave us some love, we will check that. And you ladies have anything else?
Nope, I think I'm good. I think I'm going to go finish Cult of Chucky.
That's a good call. I'm going to finish The Curse, and then
I'm going to read more It.
Ooh, fun.
Oh, God, I need to pick that back up. I stopped for a couple of days, but I still have several days to go.
Man,
it's so good.
You don't really realize it. I saw that at Target, and I was like, oh, yeah, cool. I picked it up. It is so massive. I mean, like,
it is massive.
I think it's bigger than the Bible. Like, it is just a huge,
so
huge
long.
book.
Right.
And I think were one of y'all listening to the audio tape?
Me.
Okay.
I think I still have, oh God, hold on. I think it was probably over 24 hours that I still have.
What was it, like 8 full days or something?
Wow.
It's 5 parts. I'm trying to find it. It's 5 parts, but it's all the parts are like several hours long. Like some of them are upwards of 11 to 12 hours long.
Man, no way.
It's pretty intense. Yeah. I didn't know how much of a commitment it was going to be until I started listening to it. It's at 44 hours long total.
Oh my gosh.
Dang.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
That's nuts. Well, you're a better person than me.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, all right. Well, I guess that's all for this week. And, again, come say hey on our socials and visit us, musiccityhorror.com. And we will see you next week. Bye.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.